What is good posture? So good posture has everything to do with, it's an elegant balance of our bodies. Good posture means that our bodies are elegantly balanced, our head and our shoulders, our torso, our feet. Our hope, our goal tonight. What is good posture? Number one, seated and standing. We want to make sure that we touch that. What is good posture? What's the research tell us about your posture? And we're going to go through that. And then we'll hopefully go through some posture hacks. Posture, good posture. As we kind of see on the screen, you guys are kind of looking here, but we'll go from the side and from the front. Those are the two simplest ways to describe posture. If we're looking from the side of someone, we usually start down at the ankle. And the ankle has a little bone called the malleolus. And if we drew a line through the malleolus, it should run into the knee, the middle of the knee ideally. The hip bone, if you kind of felt the bone of your hip right on the side, and then that line should go right through the middle of your shoulder, and ultimately through the ear. Okay, that's good posture from the side. So what is good posture? Well, it's straight from the front and from the side, but we also see we have curves. So curved posture adds flexibility. And how do we know what your curves truly are? We take x-rays. But from the side, we want to make sure that there is a lumbar curve, a thoracic curve, which goes the other way. We call this that S-shaped curve, and then a cervical curve. With the loss of curves means you're subluxated. And we all know that subluxations can start to deteriorate the function of your body and ultimately cause its inability to adapt to stress. So if I have poor posture, I have a poor ability to adapt to stress. So from the side, we want to see nice curves. This is where we talk about standing tall. So if someone says, well, how do I know if I'm in good posture? Good posture means we're standing tall. And if we're tall, we can draw that line right down. Okay, so that's number one from the side, good posture. From the front, if we were to do a line analysis, we'd want to make sure that there was a midpoint between our stance. And that point, you could draw a line straight up through the pubic bone, through the sternum, right through kind of episternal notch right here, middle of the neck, and then through the nose. That'd be an ideal line. How can we tell if that's not ideal? Well, we see people whose heads are tilted. You might sit at your desk, head tilted or twisted. Your shoulders off. So if your body isn't level at the hips, shoulders, and the eyes and ears, and we can't draw a line straight up through that, then you have abnormal posture. Again, that's putting stress on the body. But let's talk about the ABCs. We've got the ABCs here. So the first step is what we're talking about here. A is alignment. So when we want good posture, the first thing we're going to focus on is alignment. Alignment, the A. So that's head over shoulder, shoulder over hips, hips over ankles. Means head not tilted. That's alignment. The B of posture is balance. If our bodies are symmetrical and lined up in a good and symmetrical way, we do have better balance. But we also need to have that proprioceptive signal that goes from our feet up to our brain and from brain back down to our feet that lets us know if we're out of balance. Chiropractic adjustments, as you might have learned a couple sessions ago when we talked about reaction time, help improve the speed and connection between your brain and your body. So balance is key. So think of the B for balance. C is going to be core strength. That's what they say, core strength. If our core is weak, we very commonly, I see a lot of people, and they also have some tension in other muscles where their hips fly forward. This is probably one of the most common deviations of posture where the hips come forward and then the head goes forward. So hips forward, head forward, that core is getting weak. It probably is weak, and the body is out of symmetry, out of good balance and alignment. So one thing that when we're standing tall, it's not just about getting your head tall. Just think of your tailbone is also coming back up. So when we stand tall, we lift. Good posture is not extension. I see a lot of people when we tell them, say, hey, stand up straight, they do something here. They're probably jamming their back and they're jamming their neck. Stand tall. Why is posture so important? We're going to get into some other slides, but I want to tell you a couple stats that are out there. Number one, just about pain in general, 80% of people are going to experience back pain at some point in their life. 80%. A lot of times due to abnormal posture, bad alignment, bad balance, and weak core strength. All these can be retuned with an adjustment, but ultimately given to you when you're out of this office is you strengthening those systems with remembering to do some of the basic postural exercises. We'll get into those. Number two point is that 75% of people suffer from neck pain. So about as many. Did you know up to 50% of school-aged children present with postural distortion? In some way or another, they're distorted. The longer we're in these distorted patterns, the more hours we spend in distorted patterns, the harder it is to retrain them. They become the normal. So we don't want to have a new normal in that bad posture. All right, a lot on that slide. We're going to go to the next one. Thomas Edison, he said this. He said, the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients on the care of the human frame and diet and the cause and prevention of disease. Again, the care of the human frame. That's what we're talking about tonight. If you take 10% of what we're talking about and start to implement these things, you're probably staving off, cancer, heart disease, diabetes by just doing the simple things day to day. Little things build into big changes in the long term. So remember, we're here being the doctor of the future. So come be along with us. Let's talk a little bit about tech neck. We've all heard of tech neck. So if we're talking about abnormal posture, again, usually for most people means the head's forward. So we have a good alignment to like this person using their cell phone. We call it tech neck because a lot of times when you're using technology, the neck becomes straight and flat and forward. That's why it's called tech neck. And we x-ray, you would have a loss of cervical curve. Your curvature that we talked about, we should have a flexible curve. That becomes altered when you even tilt your head 15 degrees. The smallest tilt starts to put pressure on your spine. So a normal head weighs about 12 pounds. That would be an average. It's almost doubled when you're 15 degrees. That's not a huge tilt, right? 15 degrees of tilt. That may not cause pain right away, but if we start to get to 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and you've probably seen people at 60 degrees of tilt, they're putting excessive amount of stress on their shoulders and the back of their neck, causing headaches. So no, at 60 degrees, it's like carrying around 60 pounds on your shoulders. That's significant. So we need to stay at the minimum. This is one little tip here. If you're gonna have your cell phone out, put it in front of you. You're going to immediately reduce the tilt. You're not going to want to tilt. You're not going to want to be on your phone very long either. So that's the good news. So realize that this graphic helps you to realize that your spine going forward puts tons of stress on your body. That's key here. Let's look at a couple other postures here too. So what I want to show you with the seated and standing postures is most of us don't just stand erect and don't move all day in some way, or we don't sit necessarily in the same position all day. When you are seated, what would be ideal? Well, if we're going to be seated on a couch with a laptop, which is probably really hard to maintain good posture, obviously we should be upright. We should have something bringing the tablet up to us, at least closer, on a cushion, on a stand of some sorts. Our most ideal position if you're using a computer throughout the day would be a standing posture. And we can see that standing posture, the person is in that nice ideal position. Head over shoulders, shoulder over hips, hips over ankles. You can see that his elbows bent perfectly about 90 degrees and his wrists are at a neutral or maybe 10 or 15 degree tilt. That's ideal for the wrists. What would be not ideal? Something in this position where the wrists are flexed forward, the elbows are bent up. A lot of people might even reach to get their mouse or lift their arms to get their mouse. So know that if you're going to be seated, ideally standing's the key. But if we're going to make sure the computer's brought up, it's close to eye height. I'd say this monitor's even a little low. I'd like the middle of the monitor to almost be at that top of that line of his field of vision. That'd be ideal. So your eyes are hitting the middle of the monitor. That would be the ideal. If you're going to be at work and having to work on a computer throughout the day, it's recommended you 3 to 1. 3 to 1 standing to sitting. So stand for 3 minutes or 30 minutes and sit for 10, okay? Or 3 hours in one. I would say maybe mix it up more than that. We're going to recommend posture breaks, so at least every hour we should make some changes there. Your posture affects everything. Everything from breathing to thinking, hormone production to digestion is affected by your posture. So if your posture has such an effect on every organ and system, we know it's because of its close proximity and how it affects our spine and how our spine is connected to every cell and organ tissue of our body because of the spinal cord. This is why chiropractors work at trying to keep your spine moving and keep it lined up. But you can easily, without spending any extra money, a little bit of energy and some, time, you can change your posture and affect your health in such an amazing way. You could buy a bunch of supplements. You could buy, get a trainer. You could buy the next greatest device that's going to make you healthy, or you could just start standing better, more often, in better posture and see the effects. Our bodies are definitely changed when we have better posture. Poor posture has been linked to many things. Poor posture can lead to early mortality. What's that mean? Well, that meant what they did in this study was they would test elderly people. So at this point, an older person typically has changed. Their ligaments and bones have changed to a point where they may not even be able to really stand straight anymore. So they would take them and they would lay them on the ground. And they would see if they had enough flexibility, would their head come back and touch the ground when they would lay on the back. If their head wouldn't touch the ground or was at least 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters above the ground, they had an increased risk of early mortality. And this was basically due to heart effects on your heart and your breathing. If you have even slightly poor posture, it takes more effort to get the same amount of oxygen in every breath. If you have significantly poor posture, it takes even more energy and you're getting less air in. Oxygen is life. If your body's working harder to just breathe, it's also working harder to pump your heart when you're in those positions. Poor posture has also been associated with ADHD. Up to 50% of the children with ADHD also had motor abnormalities, altered balance, and less postural control. Asthma, carpal tunnel, headaches, and migraines. I have so many patients who have chronic headaches and migraines that are on medications and the next medication when all they need to do is get their head upright and their neck moving and adjusted. So all these things can be really connected. Also, TMJ. TMJ is directly connected to posture, directly. Realize all this is connected to your posture. One of the first hacks I want to talk about, probably most important, is the posture break. The posture break's only going to happen if you somehow take the break. You have to remember to do it. You have something's going to have to slap you in the face, make it so impossible that you can't not take this posture break. But if you can take a break every hour for 30 seconds, your posture gets reset. You get to unwind some of the tension and the stress that you've built in for that last hour, and you start to help your posture from decaying and deteriorating like these people in the study. So what's a posture break? Very simple. And I'm going to kind of stand and show this to you, but you could be seated if you wanted, but you could stand too. First is obviously, usually people are going to get kind of stuck sitting on the edge of their chair. They're leaning into their computer. We need to get back into that chair. We need to get upright. And what we want to do is we're going to open our palms up to the ceiling. So arms out, head's going to go back. So you're extended back this way. And then you're just going to take deep belly breaths. You want to breathe all the air really deep into the abdomen. You're going to hold that for a couple seconds and then breathe it out, relax. And then you do it again. You do this about 3 to 4 repetitions, and that's about 30 seconds. So you do the 4 square breath and then extended and open posture. That's a posture break, 30 seconds. If you can do that every hour, your brain will work better. You're going to be more efficient. You're going to reduce the stresses of gravity. And as you can tell, it definitely puts a stress and a strain in the right directions. And what I want to kind of have you connect on is that your body, we can utilize it to the advantages to help our brain. So if we're having struggles with thinking or depression or stress, then use our bodies to let our mind know we're okay. Because our mind may be letting our body know it's not okay. But it's a feedback loop that goes both directions. So one of these is that power posture. When you open your palms up and extend, you're telling your brain right there that things are safe. You're in an okay position. There is no stress in that moment. It's actually even really hard, and you guys could try this, in power posture to think of negative thoughts. So posture breaks are huge at changing not only the tissues, but also the psychology of our bodies too. So posture exercises, we teach lots of them. We used to teach them in different series throughout the month. But the other evidence of posture is that you have to work every day at your postural muscles and postural strength. If you're not working, most days of the week at trying to strengthen your postural tone, then it's probably getting weaker. So one thing we'll have out for you guys is, some of our posture go-to exercises. I'm not going to go through them all tonight, but I'm going to put them out in a little kit, a little, handout to the go-tos that I would say for posture. Basically, number one is what we call wall posture. We've given a lot of people wall posture before, but wall posture is you get back on the wall and it will teach you how straight you are. If you go back to the wall and your head is not touching the wall, well, we've got a problem. So wall posture is number one. Number two is typically balance exercises. Just kind of helping do one-legged balance, 30 seconds on each leg. That's number two. The posture discs are number three. We love those things. We'll probably do a whole workshop just on those. The other thing that I have found for most people, everyone has really tight legs, hips, calves. So stretching your calves and your legs out, similar to what you do on our Vibe plates if you use those, but we will make sure that you have the hip flexor stretch because most people's hip flexors from being seated shorten, which pulls you forward. We want those to lengthen up, so that's more of these kind of lunging stretches, all right? The big key is those four. We'll put those out kind of as a toolkit, but good posture comes with paying attention. Good posture comes with getting adjusted. Good posture comes with the ABCs. If you start to at least put even 10% more of your energy into thinking about what position you're in, you have the ability to stave off a lot of problems that your body could contain by not taking care of your posture. We saw all the evidence. Thank you for tonight. You guys have a good night. If there are questions, let me know.